The Environmental Health Registration Board meeting is convening at 9:05 a.m. on September the 19th, 2025. This meeting is being held in person and through Microsoft Teams video conference and is being recorded. The recording will be posted to the internet for public viewing. I will now call roll. So, Dr. First present. Bonnie Simpson. Dr. Rob.
Rob,
Scott,
present.
this is Ann. I'm sorry, Scott, you are breaking up. I don't know if you want to turn off your camera and that might help the lag, but if you could start again, I would appreciate it with roll.
Hey. I'm on a meeting for about half hour. Thank you so much. These are gorgeous.
Started.
Krampus, I think we lost Scott, I think.
Uh-oh.
You did not lose Scott.
Oh, okay,
There you
right.
go.
Could you start roll again, Scott?
I can. You just want me to start from the beginning?
Would you please? Because you were breaking up.
Sure, no problem. The Environmental Health Registration Board meeting is convening at 9:06 a.m. on September the 19th, 2025. This meeting is being held in person and through Microsoft Teams video conference and is being recorded. The recording will be posted to the internet for public viewing. I will now call roll. Scott Porter's present. Bonnie Simpson. Rhonda Robb.
Present.
Sean Rochette.
Present.
Dr. Eric Land. Jesse Lanu.
Present.
Members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. Board members are asked not to use the chat feature during meetings. The Health Licensing Office asks that individuals attending through Microsoft Teams keep their phones muted and cameras off during the entire meeting until they are given an opportunity to comment during the public and interested parties' feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Public comment is limited to matters on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what this board has statutory authority to regulate. Public members wishing to speak, please sign in on the roster sheet available in the room or email Josh Page at josh.page, P-A-G-E, at oha.oregon.gov and provide your first and last name. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business.
Trampus, this is Ann. It looks to me like we are at quorum with 4. So Josh, if you could keep an eye on people's connections and if anybody drops off, let us know so we can stop.
Will do.
Thank you, Trampus. Go ahead.
Yeah, great. So we have a couple of items right off the bat for board action. The first is the approval of the agenda. Somebody wants to look over the agenda, and if somebody wants to make a motion to approve it or have some kind of discussion.
This is Rochette. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
This is Jesse Lanu. I second that motion.
Okay. If Chair would like to take roll on that.
The motion has been seconded and given and seconded. Say yay. Aye. Say aye if you agree. Scott Carter, aye. Bonnie Simpson, is not present. Rhonda Robb,
Aye.
Sean Rochette,
Aye.
Jesse Lanu.
Aye.
So that passes. And we are on to the next section, or the next thing that we need to look at is meeting dates. So for the 2026 calendar year, we have 2 meetings on the schedule, one for March 13th at 9 a.m. and one for September 18th at 9 a.m. So if the board wants to look at those dates and see if there's any issues, we're all here to, mostly Ann, on this one to help out if we need to change dates or anything like that. Otherwise, if these dates look okay, we could get a motion and a second, and we could vote on these dates.
Somebody make a motion to approve the meeting dates for 2026, please.
Sorry, Scott, did you make a motion or were you requesting that someone make a motion?
I was requesting that someone make a motion, please.
Sure, this is Rochette. I move to approve the dates for March 13th and September 18th, 2026 as the meeting times for meeting dates.
Yeah, second, please.
I won't be here, but this is Rob and I approve. I motion, second motion.
Second.
Can we get a roll call, please? Scott, could you do a roll call vote for the approval of the
Yes,
dates, please?
Scrolling back through screens, thank you. Scott Kruger, yes. Rhonda Robb,
Yes.
Sean Rochette,
Yes.
Jesse Lanu.
Yes.
All right, moving right along. That passes. So those are our dates for next year. So the next discussion is the chair and vice chair. Who's going to be the chair and the vice chair for next year? And
Do you want me to take that one, Travis?
yeah, go ahead, Ann. Why don't you take this?
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. For the record, my name is Ann Thompson. Getting in our Wayback Machine in 2025, Scott Kruger was our chair and Bonnie Simpson was our vice chair. And now spinning forward into 2026, we need to elect a new board chair and a new vice chair. Now, if both of them were able to renew, you could certainly keep things the same, but Scott is finishing out his second term in June of next year and cannot appoint. You can always serve until replaced, but we'd like to have somebody sitting who can sit for the whole year. Bonnie Simpson is, she can reappoint, or no, she cannot reappoint, but her second term doesn't end until the end of 2027. So she would be a chair candidate, as would be Sean Rochette, Rhonda Robb. This is the last year for her, and she can't reappoint. Physician Eric Lamb has got a first term. He can reappoint. He finishes on June of next year. It would be unusual to elect an officer who was not here today, but it's happened before. It's the old don't go to the bathroom if you don't want to be elected chair kind of thing. And Jessie Lanu, our public member, is finishing her first term in 2027. So she's also a candidate for leadership. So I open the floor. We need a new chair, and we would need a new vice chair if Bonnie was elected to move up. So I open the floor. How does everyone feel about 2026 leadership? Okay, now you can't all talk at once, or I can't hear you. So,
Would anybody like to make a nomination for chair?
well, it would be unusual for a chair to make a nomination.
No, it's not what I said. I said, would anybody like to make
Oh,
a nomination for chair?
I'm sorry, your audio is breaking up again. Sean or Jesse, Rhonda?
Yeah, this is Roshat here. I would be happy to serve in a role. I'd probably be a bit more comfortable with the role of vice chair.
Know that if you did take the role as chair, we are here to support you with whatever it is you need, script support or whatever. If you would like to take the chair, we would be here for you. If you are more comfortable with vice, is there a more experienced person on the board or somebody that you think might make a good chair?
I guess I'll just throw my name in the hat. Willing to help out. I don't see a lot of discussion happening, so I'm willing to help out in either role.
Okay, thank you.
This is Rhonda Rob. It looks like we only really have 3 people that we could choose, 4 people we can choose from. Is that right?
We have
Jesse, Eric,
Jesse,
Sean, and Bonnie.
right. We have Dr. Lamb, Bonnie, Sean, and Jesse.
Well, I second Sean as chair.
Okay, well, let's get our,
Okay.
what we can do is we can get our slate. I know this is kind of awkward, but if you
Yeah.
would like to, you could make a motion for Sean in any capacity, and we could do a vote on the chair, and we could do a vote on the vice chair separate, or you can do a package deal. And if you say, I nominate X as chair, Y as vice, someone can say so moved, and then we can do a roll call vote. So whether you do them individually or together is up to you.
All right, this is Rob. I move Sean as chair and Bonnie as vice chair.
Okay, so Rhonda did Sean as chair and Bonnie as vice. And so if somebody wants to second the motion, we can do a roll call vote.
Am I able to second it?
You sure can, Sean.
Sure. I'll second the motion.
Thank you very much. Scott, if we could do a roll call.
Scott Brewer, aye.
Rhonda Rob, aye. Aye.
Sean Rochette,
Aye.
Jesse Leno.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, do you have the director's report, Trampus, or do you want me to just go over the seats as we discuss them?
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. People coming and going. If you have, yes, go ahead, Ann. You've kind of already gone over them. If Chrissy has anything to add about recruitment or anything like that, have her.
Well, I can
feel free to jump
grab
in.
that one.
Yeah,
So
go for it.
thank you. In addition to the seats, as we mentioned them, something will be happening. January 1st, we had a legislative bill go through that changes the membership of this board. If you recall, we have a long-standing vacancy in our food and beverage rep. It has been vacant for as long as I've been here, and when Sylvie was the chair, it was vacant for as long as she's been here, and she started in 09. And so when the bill went through, one of our asks was, can we please maybe get some board seats that we have a shot at filling? And so they dropped the food and beverage rep and they added another licensee. So what we will have is 4 members of the board starting in January 1st, who have at least 4 years of experience in environmental health. So hopefully we will get some fresh faces on the board in addition to filling our regular vacancies. I see Christy on the line. Do you have any interest forms currently?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get unmuted. Actually, no, we do not have anybody that has applied, and that is actually kind of unheard of because when we have people that apply, we keep their applications on file for about 4 years. It is empty. So spread the word. If you guys know anybody, feel free to send them my way, and I can help them with the application process.
We have 2 annual education conferences coming up for our profession in the near future. What am I allowed to put out there or not put out there with regards to people applying to serve?
Yeah, so my email is in the materials. It's chrissy.pickett@oha.oregon.gov. Please feel free to send them my way and I can walk them through the application process and I can send them the application link and all that stuff. So probably easiest just to give them my email and we can go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And Scott, when is this meeting coming up? Is this the one that's in Bend on the 23rd?
We have one in Bend on the 23rd, and then we have a second for the Oregon Environmental Health Association starting on October 7th.
Fantastic. Yeah, please spread the word.
Great, we can do that. Thank you.
Okay. So the next thing would be licensing and fiscal. Trampus, if you'd like to take it away.
Sure, I can go over these reports here. So we've got some reports about licensing and fiscal, as Ann pointed out. So the first licensing slide we have is on page 15 of the materials. It is the environmental health specialist licenses issued. So this is over a couple of different fiscal years, fiscal year 14 or 24, and then 25, and then just peeking into fiscal year 26. Fiscal years, remember, are a little different than regular calendar years. We're already in what we're calling the fiscal year 26, which started in as you can see, on July 1st, 2025. So we're just kind of in the first quarter of that 2026 fiscal year. And you can see that we've issued, for that first year, for 2024 year, we issued 16 licenses. In 2025, we issued 19. And so far, since July, we've issued 2 environmental health specialist licenses. And then the next slide you can see on page 16 is licenses renewed. So this gives us a sense of, we know that there are about 250-ish licenses, and they have to be renewed every year. So we see that. But what this really, probably the thing that you're really going to see on this report that is useful information is the online versus paper. You can see kind of the difference between how many people are renewing online and how many are renewing on paper, and it's a pretty good percentage. We want to, of course, push people to online whenever they can because it's just easier process and easier for everybody. But you can see that there are a handful of people that are renewing on paper, but most are renewing online. So that's a nice thing to see. Wastewater specialists. I'm sorry.
Could I ask a question, please? This is Kruger.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to make sure I understood. If you renew online, do you get a discount versus filing in paper? Is that still correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that would probably also help to explain how your high numbers of people that are renewing online. Some boards have a discount and some don't. So you can see wastewater specialists. There's not as many in this group. This is how many guess this is how many we've renewed on page. It doesn't have a title for that, but I'm assuming this is renewals because there's an online and a paper. That's on page 17. So you can see 8. There's about 8 in this group, and the bars are a little different, but most everybody except for one person is renewing online. So, and there's also other reasons. Sometimes people are required if there's certain boxes that people check that actually prevent you from renewing online. So there are some cases where people have to renew on paper. So licenses by age and gender for environmental health specialists. You can see kind of a distribution here. You can see that the biggest group is kind of right there in the middle, 34 to 57. It's kind of our largest group of individuals. What we worry about is when we see that all those lines, the taller lines, all moving to the right, and we're not getting anybody new in. So, but it looks like you kind of have a healthy curve here. So, and then here's wastewater specialists. Those same numbers, pretty across the board. So, licensing trends. You can see that this is about as straight as you can get. It's over the last couple of years, it's held up pretty straight, although there's a little bit of an upward trend for environmental health specialists. So that's, hopefully we're filling some needs where in areas where we have less. So you can see these are averages though. What they do is they take that quarter and they make an average for that quarter. So that might fluctuate a little bit here and there. That's where you get these points. We don't have 263.3 at any given time. That's just an average for that time frame. So, and then here is your fiscal. So as you can see, you're actually in pretty good shape. Your expenditures are generally a little bit less than your revenues, so you have a little bit of a cushion. It's good to have a cushion like this. So if anything comes up, if any major expenses or some piece of legislation throws us into kind of a chaos or some really bad case, regulatory case can eat up something like that pretty quickly. So, but as far as I can tell, you're all pretty healthy. The revenues, of course, are licensing fees coming in. The expenditures are what it costs to administer this program and this board. So every board at the health licensing, we have 20 programs and licensing boards and councils here at the health licensing, and everybody pays direct costs like this board meeting versus kind of shared costs like the regulatory people, or and the building rent and things like that. And it's all kind of allocated as a percentage. So that's where the expenditures come from. It comes from a direct costs and also shared costs of the health licensing office. So, and that's does anybody have any questions about the fiscal slide here that we're looking at? Not, I'll move over to the regulatory report. So we got the regulatory report here. You have no open cases at the time. So all of your cases that have come in are closed. You can see that we have 3 biennium on here just to give you some historical perspective. We got 3 cases that came in during the 2023 biennium. We got no cases to come in the 2025 biennium, and the 2027 biennium, which we are currently in, we had 1, but that is due to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott.
I'm sorry, please finish and then I'll ask the question. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. I saw the hand go up and I didn't want to move on from what I was talking about in case it was that specific spot. So that new case that you see in the 2027 biennium, that was a complaint that had to do with CE audit requirements. So one of the, you can see the complaints by type. In the 2023 biennium, all three of the complaints that came in were service-related complaints. They were something about somebody's, the service that somebody performed in their duties as an environmental health specialist, and they were all environmental specialists. We can see by that other case, the box that's all the way to the left. Those are all closed and dealt with, over the last couple of years. So the 2025 biennium, we have nothing, but the 2027 biennium, the only complaint that we have on the books was one opened due to CE audit requirements. So we are doing CE, HLO is doing CE audits, continuing education audits. And if a person were to fail that continuing education audit, or if they were to have tested, say, on their renewal that they had the hours, but they didn't, or they didn't respond, then that would get referred over to regulatory, and regulatory would look into that situation. And if it appears that there is a possible violation, just like any other compliance case, it's just an internal one, we would bring that to the board for the board to look at. In this particular situation, when it got referred to regulatory, we determined that at the time there wasn't any kind of violation involved. So it was just closed, but it does show up on the books as a continuing education audit, and there's a very good chance that we will be, that there will be a handful when we come to the next meeting. I think that they did wastewater specialist, as you can see. This was a wastewater specialist. I don't know if they did the environmental health specialist, which is the larger licensing group, which you're just going to expect to see a little bit more. Come through that maybe a few people were out of compliance or something, and then we'll talk about that when that comes up. But just know that that's the new category that you're seeing on there. And as you can see, as the complaints by type, this board is all other. Anonymous is just what it sounds like. We don't know who did it. They just sent it anonymously. The client is like the actual client sent it in, although because oftentimes environmental health specialists, wastewater specialists working for state agencies or that kind of thing, not a lot of clients send them directly in, although I think over the years we might have had one or two. And then other is just kind of anybody else. It could be another environmental health specialist or the public at large, or somebody that just wanted to file a complaint, and that's what most of these are. And that could also be us internally as well, which in one case it was. So that's the regulatory report. I don't know if I answered your question, Scott, but I'll loop back around and see if you still had a question about the whole deal.
Thank you. I was just wondering, is it appropriate on this page for you to report audits conducted and audits completed?
I
think the group would be interested in that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if it would be on this specific report, but I can certainly run that up the hill and see if that's something that could be added to the reports in general or not, and we can bring that up as something that we talk about here. So yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Does anybody have any other questions about regulatory or the process or investigations or anything like that they want to ask? If not, we will move on to policy, and in that, I will turn it over to Ann to talk about. That is her
Thank
world.
you, Trampus.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, it's Ann Thompson. I do have a work phone ringing. If you
Sorry, Ann, did you get?
I
Oh,
apologize.
okay.
My work phone was ringing, and I'm like, nope. Not when I'm trying to give a report. So the big news is, and I'm sure you guys already know this legislative session, you finally got a modernizing statute change. Public health, it's inappropriate for HLO to make these changes. We're the executive branch. We do what the legislature tells us to do. But after waiting for a long time for some other association or somebody to modernize your statutes, which you all know are ancient and outdated and use language that isn't even used anymore, leading to difficulties licensing and roadblocks and bottlenecks for trainees. And the process is very complicated. And there's a lot of places where people would just get stuck in the process. Public health took it upon themselves to introduce a legislative concept. You can see it was part of a larger set of changes to different programs. This is called like a housekeeping bill. That's why when it starts out, your information doesn't start until section 12, which is on page 4. And as I'm sure you've all taken a look at it, the bold language is new. The italic is coming out. And so you can see how all of this fits together. This requires rulemaking to bring the rules into alignment with the changes brought by the statute. And the statutory change, our turnaround on it is very quick. This goes into effect on January 1, which in the world of rulemaking, I mean, for the average 10-year-old who's waiting for Christmas, that's going to be forever. For us in government, this is the blink of an eye. Because rulemaking, if done properly, takes a long time, not just for public comment periods, but for stakeholder engagement. And so that we have a bunch of things to talk about today. One is we will need to add board meetings to approve the proposed rules. We're going to have a rules advisory committee that's scheduled for the 30th, September 30th. And you will need to, as a board, review the suggestions or feedback that we get on our draft rules from the Rules Advisory Committee. And then you will need to add a board meeting between November 1st and the end of the year to adopt rules permanently. In a perfect world, we like to have our rules go into effect at least a couple of weeks before the Jan 1 operative date. And that gives people a chance to get their paperwork in order, get their applications in order, take a look, so that right after the first business day on Jan 1, if somebody wants to apply using these new criteria, we can start issuing licenses. Now, with a timeline as short as this, sometimes the perfect customer service world doesn't occur, but I'm hoping that with your help that we can make it. The other thing that I wanted you to we have to go over in 2021, House Bill 2993 came up with a list of questions that boards need to consider when they're deciding on stakeholder groups for the Rules Advisory Committee. We need to get feedback on that. And I included that information along with the administrative rules schedule. You'll see on there the yellow areas where we need to add board meetings, and then we need to have a conversation. The invitations for the RAC have gone out, but I also need for you guys to discuss all of these 1 through 7 considerations so that we meet the requirements of 2993, which is not just who the rules affect, trainees, licensees, people coming out of school, people who hire these professionals, but who might the rules affect, who are our regular stakeholders, additional groups. That way, when we're sending out invitations, we know that we're casting the broadest possible net. And to that end, while you're thinking, I wanted you to know that despite multiple rounds of emails, blasts, I contacted the CLO board personally. I've only gotten 2 interest forms, 2 applications and 2 interest forms. And this is alarming, especially when you consider the number of phone calls that Tina and licensing and myself have taken over the years with people who can't hire enough professionals or people that are stuck in the process. And now we have a chance to unstick that process. And I'm a little surprised that we're not getting more involvement. So while we're considering all those things, if you take a look at the administrative schedule it's on slide 51 of 54. We will need to add a board meeting in October to review draft language that we're going to produce with the RAC. With that, the proposed rules will be in the November 1 Oregon Bulletin, and that opens the public comment period. Bare minimum, 28 days. We're short timeline, but because of and that's the other thing, we've got holidays in here, which complicates things. I'm planning on having the public comment period stay open until December 1st and close it at the end of a public hearing. If people want to call and say however they feel, that's fine. And then we need a board meeting after that to adopt the permanent rules. Now, the reason that the subsequent are in yellow is depending on when it's adopted permanently, the board votes to adopt, that will affect when I file, that will affect when permanent rules go into effect. So with board meetings and these rules advisory committee groups on the table that we have to discuss and all of the things, what questions do you have and where do you want to start?
And this is Sean Rochette.
Hi, Sean.
Did I hear that correctly? That it sounds like only 2 folks are interested in being part of the RAC at this moment.
At this moment, what we do, and I like to send out applications because it's a wonderful way to, number one, I know with some, OHA is gigantic and every agency has its own sort of way of gathering feedback. Some people do listening sessions or listening tours. Some people have racks. I have some groups that just do sort of a y'all come. They just say, we're going to open the doors on this date, or, here's the address, phone in and say what you think. I like applications because not only do we get to see where you're coming from geographically, because Oregon is a very diverse state, you have an opportunity to the end of making sure that we get as diverse a group as possible. On the application, it says, do you have a perspective that you can bring or a lived experience in a rural community or a low income or LGBTQ or another marginalized population or underrepresented group? Or what experience do you have? So if we get a ton of applications, and you can only have so many people on teams before your bandwidth gets sucked up and you drown. We have a chance to get a really diverse group of voices at the table. So we don't, because good rules don't make anybody happy because we say everyone has to compromise. And right now I've only gotten 2. One, I believe Scott Kruger recruited. Thank you, Scott. And the other one responded, they're from Clackamas County, on the first email blast. We emailed all of our licensees, all of our interested parties. We sent a second urgent blast earlier this week. And I contacted all the leadership of CLO personally and reached out and appealed. I haven't heard from anybody there. And so what I'm hoping to do when we start talking about the requirements of 2993, thinking about all the variables, please give me some ideas of anyone else I can contact or anyone else I can appeal to make sure we have diverse voices and we move this profession forward in a way that works for everybody.
Thanks, Ann. I know of at least one individual that's a wastewater specialist that may be submitting an application.
That would be fantastic. I've got a deadline for applications of 9 a.m. on September 23rd. I usually give myself a week to pour over applications and make sure that if we have any follow-up information or anything we can ask, especially when we have a huge response. When you have 6 dozen, you have to look through. But with this one, I'm hoping to get a few more. Because, this is a big deal, right? This is remaking your profession. And part of what we're also going to try to get, not just out of them, but out of you guys too, when you look through is think about the people in licensing that are going to get maybe degrees. They say if you have a master's degree, not just in public community health, but they expanded it to say other public, other environmental health degrees. Well, what might those licensing specialists get? What's it going to look like? Is it climate change? Is it pollution? We're going to really use you guys as experts and the Rules Advisory Committee to not just go through the rules, but also educate us on what this paperwork is going to look like now. What are we going to see? Do we need to expand applicable work experience beyond what we have now? Because the world's changing. And so what might we see? So those are other things we need to get out of the Rules Advisory Committee and your educated brains.
Yeah, that's helpful. One just quick follow-up is
course.
the intent to have just a single rule advisory committee meeting?
Yes, I am hoping, because, and the statutes take and they give, right? We have gone through internally all the changes, and we have come up, I think we had 3 internal racks with licensing staff and regulatory staff and people who look at the applications all the time and know where people get stuck. And we went through, and your rules have had a couple little changes, but they have not had a good, solid top to bottom cleaning since 2012. So we went through, and there were some things that, like HLO used to give exams that are now given by NEHA, that you take in a different way. And so we went through and struck a bunch of language that was no longer relevant. We freshened it up where we could, and we inserted some questions that we would need. Like, one of the questions we came on was, in today's world, even if you're part-time, how long should a trainee be a trainee? I don't know, 4 years, 5, these kinds of things. So we've got it drilled down that we should, with good representation, be able to do this in one shot. Because fortunately, the statute doesn't have things like qualifications as determined by the board. Those are the things that get hairy, right? Because then you have to right size that. This has some changes, like from environmental sanitation to environmental health, from degree 45 science hours in environmental sanitation to just 45 science hours. There's a new pathway for people who are certified, who have pathway, I think A or 1 through NEHA. So a lot of it's prescriptive. And I think it's been dialed down and clarified to the point where one meeting ought to do it. But, we don't know what we don't know. If we get into a rack and we're made aware of a pothole that we didn't see because we're not in the profession, we always allow for, that certain amount of creative detour that we might have to take. But we're pretty solid that we can do this in one meeting if everybody is caffeinated, moisturized, and focused.
Thank you.
So do you guys want to start going through the administrative rules schedule? Does everyone have their calendars up? We could do that first, and then we could go through our stakeholder piece that's at the bottom of the rules schedule. Does that work for everybody?
Yes. This is Rhonda,
Yes.
yeah.
And these won't be full meetings. These are special meetings where we would simply review draft language. Now that can take a while, going through everything, because that can lead to questions, but we won't be doing reports. We won't be doing cases or anything like that. It would simply be reviewing rule language. Did somebody have their hand up?
This is Jesse. Sounds good to me.
Hi, Jesse. Okay. So, what does October look like for everybody? You guys tend to like Fridays. I know we have so many boards and programs, and we have the sign language interpreters board that has got multiple racks. And I'll tell you, it's amazing how fast our calendar gets sucked up. But we do have, let's see, if you like Fridays, it looks like October 17th is available. October 24th is available. And I can't offer the 31st because if I've got to file, I am not going to file rules on the last day of the month because everyone does that and the whole system can clog. So if you like Fridays, do any of those days work for you?
This is Rhonda. Yeah, either of those days work for me. And Please is meeting in person on October 8th. So the latter part of October is good.
Okay, so that sounds like, so you would, are you kind of cheering for October 3rd, or are you cheering for the 17th? Do you like the 17th or the 24th?
Mrs. Kruger, either of those dates will work for me, 17th or 24th.
This is Rhonda likewise.
Okay, so why don't we shoot for October 17th? Because I like to build in a little bit of extra in case like the Secretary of State system goes down or they're doing maintenance or something. I don't have a lot of faith in the last minute filing. It seems like the later you go, the more likely it is to be down. You know, that's just how it works. So if we're looking at 9 a.m. On October 17th, is everybody kind of okay with that for a special meeting?
This is Rhonda,
This is
yes.
Jesse. Good. This is Jesse. Good to go.
This is
Fantastic.
Sean. That's fine.
Great.
Kruger says yes.
Fantastic. Oh, that is just such a relief. Okay, so now we go back.
And which date
Yes.
did we agree on?
17th, October 17th at 9 a.m. for a special. Thank you so much, Josh, for clarifying. So the next thing is we need to add a meeting in December. We try to not have meetings in December for obvious reasons, but the legislature's put us here, so now we're here. So December, let's see, it looks like December 5th is free, 12th is free. I wouldn't want to go past that. So can I get a vote on well, not a vote. Can I get any kind of agreement on a special meeting to review public comment? And hopefully if we do what we're supposed to do right and the racks go well, there won't be a lot of surprises, right? I mean, if you do everything right on the front, back end, you rarely get surprises. Could we get a 9 a.m. on December 5th?
This is Jesse. That's good for
Either
me.
day.
Okay, Jesse, that's good. Scott, was that okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Sean?
5th is fine.
Perfect. Rhonda, will you still be with us?
I'll be off on the 5th, November 5th.
Oof. Oh, this is December.
Oh,
This is
December. Yeah, so I'll be gone.
Oh.
My tenure ends on November 5th of this year.
Well, you can serve until replaced, though.
Okay, well then sure.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so the two meetings we would be adding for proposed to review the proposed language would be 9 a.m. on October 17th, and you would review any public comment and vote permanent at 9 a.m. on December 5th. We all there?
Yes.
Kruger.
Awesome. What I like about that is that gives me plenty of time to file and arrange for the contingencies, right? I mean, it's crazy how things get. Okay, fantastic. You guys are rock stars. So now with that out, we have to go over with your patients the questions that we need to ask you guys when we're considering stakeholders for the RAC. And these, what I'm hoping to get out of this is number one, any additional stakeholders that I can reach out to. Also, when we're going over these, if you could think of the best way to reach these groups, because some groups do better if you just get them in a room and they just talk, you know, we just want to listen to them. Or do these folks do better if in a more structured environment? Or, you know, who haven't I reached out to that I might to get the broadest possible membership leading into this rulemaking, right? So the first one, and I'm sorry, was there? I'm switching force between screens. Scott, did you have something?
No, not just yet.
Okay, fantastic. So if you guys could just, I mean, just chime in on who will these rules, I mean, as we change them, who will these rules affect? I mean,
This is for everybody
Mhm.
that's, anybody who is issued a license essentially through our programs.
okay. Okay. So that would be trainees as well?
Correct.
Okay. And not just licensees, what about the organizations they work for, or I don't know, anyone who breathes the air or drinks water? I mean, you have to kind of spread out. They want us to use our creative minds and think about the work that these people do, who's coming into the profession, you know, if they're in school and they decide they want to do this, and the people that they serve. So you have to cast the broadest net.
I think I'm not aware that we have any fully accredited public health programs in our state anymore. So I would say normally reaching out to a university would be appropriate for
Okay.
undergrads looking to seek a profession in environmental health. But we, as I'm not aware that we actually have any accredited environmental health programs at the universities in our state. So, I mean, it doesn't mean that people aren't looking to come into environmental health, but I suppose, you would definitely still want to reach out to universities and public health programs, regardless of whether they have a bachelor's degree program specifically in environmental health. I know Oregon State has a minor degree program, then that under a major public health heading, but I would, specifically think of, Oregon State University and University of Oregon.
Okay. Great.
And this is Sean, just expanding, this will impact agencies at all different governmental levels. Working for the Department of Environmental Quality myself, it will certainly affect certain individuals there, specific to the on-site wastewater program. It will affect folks that conduct similar work at the county levels. What that looks like varies by county, whether it's planning departments, public health departments. It's run differently in each county. And could potentially affect other programs beyond just public health. So, for example, somebody in a soil science program at OSU could be interested in becoming a wastewater specialist. So, if we're trying to be broad, I could see quite a few avenues there.
Fantastic. Are there any other,
research
go
on
ahead,
that
Scott.
topic? And I'm sorry, this is pretty, I did some research on that topic, and of the 36 counties, 29 have it, the wastewater program embedded into their community development program. 7 have them embedded into the environmental health program, of which one of them is mine. So you would want to consider casting a net in that direction.
Could you repeat for me? You said out of 29 of 36 counties are embedded in what program?
Community development, or
Community
what
development.
Sean referenced as, I don't know, what did you say, Sean? Public, use a different term, but they're
Public
within the
health.
community. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Planning
within the community
departments.
development program. Yeah, the planning department.
Right.
Excellent.
And we have a list of that, Anne, or anybody else who's interested. DEQ maintains a list of like all the on-site wastewater
Can you
contacts
send that
throughout
to
the
me,
state.
please? Please,
Sure,
please,
and
please send that to me.
I can even drop a link in the chat if that's helpful
Oh,
here.
please don't use the chat function because this
Okay.
is a public record and we have
Right.
no way of capturing that for the public record. But anything that you send to me will be added to the materials so that for forensic purposes, anyone who looks back will see what we talked about and we'll see that information. So if you could email that to me, that would be spectacular. And I imagine that these rules will affect the people that these agencies and individuals serve, correct? I mean, anybody who's, any individual farmer or community that's served by these professionals would also be affected by these rules, correct?
Yeah, could be. I'll be sure to email you the contact list that we have.
Spectacular. Rhonda, I saw your hand flash.
Yes, sorry, technology. We here in Multnomah County have a food service advisory committee. They might be interested.
Okay. It's Food Service Advisory Committee.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Is that an email or a contact that you could send me?
Yes, I will. I'll send that to you.
Excellent. I was surprised not to hear anything from Multnomah because we've had many communications with them over the years, with hiring and things like that.
Yeah, it's in the works, and
Fant-
we're a little slammed over here, so things take as you know, with government, things just are a little slower. So
Oh, 100%.
yeah, but
100%.
one of us, if one of the supervisors here will be joining, and I know that my manager, Jeff Martin, sent out your information about joining this RAC on the 16th of September to Cleese. So I imagine you'll be getting more interest.
That's spectacular. Okay, so that sort of brings us into number two. So our traditional stakeholders, the ones that I automatically think of would be, licensees, trainees, hiring professionals, that will now maybe have a broader uh, group of people to hire from. We know we clease and close and public health. We actually met with Portland and public health to try to get some ideas about stakeholders. But I mean, obviously, NEHAN, some of the associations and things. Are there any traditional rule stakeholders that I missed in that list?
I'm sorry, this is Kruger again. I'm sorry, backtracking just a little bit to one, what came to mind too is you may consider the Oregon Health Authority Foodborne Illness Prevention Program or Food Pool and Lodging Program. They also have a food service advisory committee. And
The first group that you mentioned, what was it again? The first group? Oregon Health.
It's the Oregon Health Authority Food Pool and Lodging Program.
Okay.
And if you, they have, as a subset of them, have a food service advisory committee. And you could reach out to Erica Van Ness at the Oregon Health Authority to get that information.
Well, I met with her just last week. So at
Okay.
least I know I was in the right direction.
Yeah.
She's lovely. Okay. So were there any other more traditional groups that I missed? Or did I kind of get it? Okay, not seeing anything. Okay. The next one, and this is all language, by the way, straight from that statute. So these are all things we have to consider. Are there any other groups that would be affected by these rules that are unified by a common characteristic? Like they're all of a rural nature, or everyone that's in a certain area or identifies a certain way or has any common characteristic that we haven't gone over yet.
And this is Rhonda. Not that I can think of right now. Do we have a period of time that we can get back to you on that?
Well, I mean, the rack is coming up.
Okay.
Anything you think of afterwards that I can add to the rule record is incredibly helpful.
Okay.
So that's good as sort of a technical exercise, but it also is going to help me after this meeting decide who to email, who to contact. But also it's just a great moving forward. I mean, it works on a lot of levels, not just because we have to, but because it's the right thing to do. It makes sure that our lens is focused on the new world. Since your statutes are updating and they're getting modernized, right? We're expanding degrees, we're expanding how the work is defined, we're removing some roadblocks. So we're trying to make sure that we're bringing, not just representing them at the rack, but expanding our lens so that this board and its work gets to everyone that could be impacted by this on a lot of different levels. So this is helping educate us as well. But if you think of something, please send it to me because it has to be part of the rule record. It's not only required, like I said, it's the right thing to do. And it helps me make sure we're communicating to the people we need to communicate to.
Okay. The only, and I think somebody might have already said our universities. So OSU, Oregon State University. I know they have environmental health program there, and OHSU and PSU, they have a public health program that students come to us from, either with
Oh.
bachelor's or master's.
I didn't get OHSU before, so that's great. That's super helpful.
Okay.
Because no, your master's degrees are expanding. For the longest time, it was just
Right.
public or community health. And now it's public community health or another environmental health degree. So now we're also asking, like, what would that look like? So fantastic. Okay, so
Could I ask this, could I ask
yeah.
a point of order just really quickly? I
Yeah.
see John Gavaguchi's on the line as a public member, and he's a senior staff person in Washington County who would be able to lend to this conversation. Is it, would it break protocol to allow John to go off mute and be able to participate, or does he have to wait until public comment?
It would be more appropriate if we let him help me during the public comment period, just because that would keep the agenda on track.
Okay.
But I appreciate his presence and certainly his ideas. And when we get to public comment, if he wants me to refer back to any of these questions, I'm happy to.
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. So let's see. So we've talked about other groups that the rule is likely to affect and who have not traditionally been included in the board's rulemaking process. And again, that would be universities, the food pool and lodging, please close. We're talking about DEQ, the on-site wastewater program, county levels, planning departments, soil science programs. Rhonda?
Yeah, a couple more that you might reach out to is the Oregon Department of Agriculture.
Wonderful.
So there's a group, the Oregon Environmental Health Association. And apparently the Pacific University has an environmental science and public health program.
Oh. Science and public health.
Yes.
And they're also
Fantastic.
adding, this is Krieger, they're also adding in the Oregon Department of Agriculture.
That's incredibly helpful. And we haven't traditionally had ag. We actually had an applicant one time who had come through, had more of an animal science background, and they really struggled with our statutes as they were. So that's super helpful. Rhonda's your hand up again, or are you stuck?
I'm stuck.
That's
It's
okay.
unstuck it.
If you want to stay up the rest of the meeting, that's great. So the other one, is there a person that anyone can think of who clearly represents the interests of a community, even if they're not a member of the community? This is why when you get your application, it says, is there anyone else we should contact who would have a stake in the rules? Is there anyone you can think of? I mean, obviously, we have gotten Erica Van Ness. Is there a person?
I'm thinking of a couple other organizations. This is Sean.
Okay.
And these are probably loose at best, but
Doesn't matter.
the Oregon Society of Soil Scientists. Oftentimes, soil scientists may be interested in the pathway for wastewater specialists. From an industry standpoint, with the on-site wastewater program that DEQ oversees, the Oregon On-Site Wastewater Association is, they're more of the regulated community, but we do have a handful of, well, at least a few wastewater specialists that are also members of that organization.
Wonderful. I don't think I've ever heard from that group. That's amazing. Okay. So,
Inappropriate to cast a net towards the National Environmental Health Association, because we would certainly have, as jobs are getting posted within our borders, you may have people applying from all over the country with various programs looking for work in environmental health. But is that
Okay.
too broad of it? Do we have to stay within our borders, or is that too big of a cast?
no, hey, when you have a seismic change like this, I don't see any reason to not try. I mean, because we are taking, starting January 1, having that qualification path through NEHA, where you have the education, the exam, and the supervised experience. They have different credentials that you don't have all those components. If you've got that, that's a new pathway. So yeah, I mean, I can certainly let them know. I mean, I've had other programs and other boards where I've had representation for our temporary staffing agency. I had representation from other states because they were businesses that sent workers to Oregon. So it was going to affect them. So I think that would be absolutely appropriate. So I can reach out to them as well. Let's see. Okay, so the last one is we have to determine whether the interests of persons likely to be affected by the rule are the same or different from the interests of communities likely to be affected by the rule. So is there anybody, who could be affected by this who might feel differently about the rules than other groups? I mean, again, this is something that the law came up with, and it applies in certain circumstances and not in others, but it's good to ask. So could there be a group out there that would run afoul of a different group? And no is an acceptable answer, but I just have to throw it out there for you.
This is clear, not that I'm aware.
Okay. And you guys can keep thinking about that. And again, if something comes up, we do our best thinking sometimes in the shower, right? Right, Scott? If something comes up later and you want me to add it to the record or add it, to the rulemaking record, or so I could take an action and reach out, because what's great about rulemaking, and I see your hand up, Rhonda, is if we put the work in on the front end and we get everyone to the table, we are less likely to have a bomb go off at the end of the process. When somebody shows up, I see your hand too, Jesse, when all of a sudden a group shows up and goes, wait a minute, we didn't know this was happening and this doesn't work for us. And that's why we're trying to do all this on the front end. Rhonda, I saw your hand first. What have you got for me?
Just a question. So is there any way you could send us the list that you've acquired so far, so that when we do respond in kind, we're not duplicating anything we've already said?
It's totally fine to duplicate. We have a list. We use GovDelivery. If you received one of our email blasts, that list, it's an electronic list that encompasses everyone who is a licensee, as long as they've kept their email up to date, and anyone who is an interested party who keeps their email up to date, and they received our email blast. And then I can tell you I've emailed, certain groups personally. clothes, because it looked like Cleese was a subgroup on their website. Jesse, what have you got?
I'm gonna go back a little bit to some of the people who might be affected by the rules. And
Absolutely.
I live in rural Monmouth, or outside of Monmouth, and we had I'm not sure if you guys are in contact with Lucky Mute. It's the water co-op here, and I know that they work with the Polk County Environmental Health Division. So that I'm not sure if they're on your radar or.
I can check. And I would much rather have duplicative efforts. They got an email blast and then they heard from us, then miss somebody, right?
All right.
So I would be more than happy to reach out and make contact with them and let them know.
It's the Lucky Mute Watershed Council, I guess.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
And I thought I saw Scott. Did your bubble pop? Are you?
Well, yeah, this is for, I'm wondering, who might this affect? I'm thinking about the people that we actually, our customers. And that takes me back to the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association. I mean, they're representing the folks who are actually being regulated. So I'm thinking, does this affect them in that way? I mean, it's a group of people who are coming into a profession who are going to have regulatory oversight of their businesses.
Mhm.
Is that, I don't know, that seems like a stretch, but
Not really.
I mean,
I think that works. I mean, we weren't able to get anybody on the board from the food and beverages, but that doesn't mean that there aren't folks out there getting, inspected, and that they have to understand regulation, and they might have a perspective to share. I think that's incredibly valid. I mean, you have to kind of go beyond, the center rings, licensees, and then you go on the outside, the people that hire them and the people that employ them. And then you have to think about the people they serve, people who depend on environmental health people to make sure that the air is clean and the water is good, to make sure we don't end up like, Flint, Michigan with bad water and with mega dairies. We read about all this and the impacts of that. And so then you have to think about the people they serve, the people, and the downstream effect of who might benefit from having a more diverse, robust licensee base doing more robust work. Rhonda?
I agree with Scott. I think that would be a great group to reach out to. We in Multnomah County, probably throughout the state, receive inquiries from our operators, like, how do I become an inspector? So I think that's a great suggestion.
Okay, and that's the Oregon Restaurant Lobby Association.
it's the Oregon, sorry, I'm breaking protocol. This is Kruger. It's the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association.
Oh, and lodging. Okay.
I mean, then if you're casting a net in that direction, and you really need to think about who do we regulate.
Yeah.
And under our licensure category, that would be licensed restaurant facilities, mobile unit operators, who fall under Oregon Food Code rules, pool and spa operators, organizational camp operators, hotel operators. Did I miss anything, Rhonda?
Well, if we have contracts, schools, or maybe the Department of Education.
Possibly assisted living facility. Oh no, not that. They're not regulated by us.
Yeah, that would be DHS.
Yeah, they're not regulated by us. So, but there are organizations there, if you're thinking about pool and spa operators, there's a National Pool and Spa Foundation. I'm sorry, that's not the correct term. They're called the National Pool and Spa Alliance. I don't know if there's any oversight or higher level organization for the organizational camps, but what comes to mind is Girl Scouts or Scouts of Oregon and Southwest Washington. I mean, potentially the Oregon Association of Water Utilities, because generally registered environmental health specialists are doing water quality work with inside of our programs.
Fantastic. Rhonda?
Yeah, possibly the state drinking water program.
Yeah, thank you.
Oregon
agree.
drinking water.
Yeah.
Okay. This is fantastic. Okay. So this is amazing. Incredibly fruitful, and I'm so happy because this gives me, 50 more targets, and also letting people, and the other thing is letting people know that these changes are coming, right? Not just participating, but opportunities, for public comment if they have anything to say about the rules, but also just knowing that the changes are coming and giving us as much information as we can so that we're ready when the rules change, so that we can kind of get our arms around the new world, as far as our stakeholders and what they need from us. So this is incredibly useful. So unless there's something else. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to add one more thing. With regards to the drinking water program, you might want to reach out to it's the Oregon Health Authority Drinking Water Program, and the director's name. I'm going to say her last name incorrectly. Her first name is Samina, and I want to say her last name is Panwar. But she is the director for that program, and so you may want to reach out to her.
And that's the drinking water program?
Correct.
Got it. Thank you so much. So with all of that brain-breaking activity, we would go, if you're still there, Trampus and Scott. It looks like the next thing that we would have would be public and interested parties feedback. So Scott, if you would be kind enough to read that script, we can hear from some of our guests today if they would like to speak.
This is the public and interested parties feedback period. At this time, the Environmental Health Registration Board will hear public and interested parties feedback. Public comment is listed to matters listed on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what the board has statutory authority to regulate. Comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will not be allowed if they are disruptive to the board's conduct of its business. If you are called on to comment, HLO staff will request the public member to unmute themselves. The chairperson and the health licensing office reserve the right to end any person's comment early, or to have the health licensing office staff mute the public member if the comment does not pertain to matters listed on the meeting agenda or topics relevant to what this board has statutory authority to regulate. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment? If so, please raise your hand or use your MSS Teams raise hand feature and wait to be acknowledged.
Do we have anybody who would like to comment? If you can't raise your hand, you can just chime up and just identify yourself.
See John Kawaguchi.
May I speak?
Yes. Hi, John. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning. John Kawaguchi, he, him, Washington County Environmental Health Branch Supervisor. Oh, I just wanted to mention, I just want to say thank you for this process, and I have not sat in on a meeting, environmental health board meeting for a while, but I've enjoyed the conversations and the process, and looking forward to providing input moving forward. But thank you very much for this opportunity.
This is Ann. Thank you, John. And if you can think of anyone who would want to participate in the Rules Advisory Committee, and I would absolutely welcome their applications. And if you haven't received them, if you could let me know, and I would be more than happy to get the materials out to you.
As Rhonda mentioned earlier, this is John again. As Rhonda mentioned earlier, Jeff forwarded that information out to CLEAS members. We then forward that to our staff. So we're here waiting to hear back. I also was forwarded information via our CLO members. So I've received information out from 2 different sources.
Wonderful.
And, yeah, so the word is getting out.
I'm so happy to hear that. Thank
All
you
right,
so
thank you.
much.
You're welcome.
Are there any other
This is
public?
Carter. This is Carter, and it would be helpful, if you are, starting to receive, applications, if you could, reach out to us, so, we know, I don't know what's the limit on how many people are serving on the Rules Advisory Committee? Is it 8, 10, or is?
That's a terrific question. And I think that now that we have teams, when we were limited by the size of our boardroom, and there are natural limitations, right? You can only have so many people in a room when the conversation can slow. It can become harder to keep people on task. So it's a very it's kind of a situational number per se, but I don't think that, 8, 10, when people are focused and prepared, I'm not going to limit it before I see the applications. If I have, obviously this isn't for this group, but in the past, I have had, say I got 10 from the same perspective, I would then check through and see if they had any additional perspectives that they would bring to the table. If they were from an underrepresented community, if they were, you try to get as many voices as you can, but if you have 3 or 4 that are kind of from the same angle, then you have to make a choice. But I think with teams, bring it on. 8, 10, and this is an incredibly knowledgeable group. So I would be really hesitant to limit the number until it just became unwieldy, because the only limiting factor we have with teams is bandwidth, and if everyone turns on their cameras and they all have fancy backgrounds, the system could fall over. But short of that, bring it. Does that help? Sometimes you have to limit, but we try not to.
It does. We will be going live next week at our annual education conference that's facilitated by the Oregon Health Authority, and I'm positive within the first day or 2, we should be able to bring that topic up again to remind people that Jeff has sent out this meeting invite, and most counties and programs will be represented in the room, and so I'll make a point of bringing it up again as the first opportunity allows, and put that out there.
Okay, and this, we're technically in the public comment period, but if there aren't, what we could do is transition to other board business. Is there anybody else from the public who would like to comment? Okay, hearing none, we can switch to other board business, which allows us to have a little bit more of a robust conversation. If anybody is worried, I know that there are some assumptions that rules advisory committees will be meeting weekly for the next decade, and they won't provide a lunch, and it's going to be a thing. That's not how HLO rolls. We are incredibly grateful for your participation at every level. We're grateful for our RACs and their willingness to give up some of them billable hours to participate. And so we try to bring materials that are ready to be discussed. And we try to keep the conversation away from areas that you really can't, there's certain things that you can't weigh in on, right? There's things that are determined by business processes, like maybe fees or renewal times, or, you know, our renewals are licensure years are 1 year. You know, there's things that we really can't have an impact on. We'll try to keep the conversation focused and efficient and collaborative. And, you know, we give you training at the beginning of the RAC so that you know what your lane is so you can stay in it. And we don't want to waste anybody's time because we know it's precious and we're grateful for your involvement. So if you can assure anyone, we're not going to, I mean, it used to be we could give you a great lunch too, right? But with Teams, we can't do that. But yeah, we try to use your brains as efficiently as we can. Scott, your little bubble.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, with that being said, our sales pitch, RACs are fun. Come to them, make a difference. Oh, I see John has his hand up. We're technically in other board business. Did I miss you, John?
I don't
Maybe
see
he
John's
doesn't.
hand at the end.
I thought this is John Koguchi. I thought I have my hand down. It's still up.
Oh, no, it's down now. You're fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Is there any other board business? I mean, obviously, our next full board meeting will be in the spring. And now would be a time, can anyone think of anything that they specifically want on the agenda? Or, I mean, I imagine a lot of it's going to be, how are the new roles rolling out? How are things going? But is there anything else that we want to put a pin in for the spring board meeting? And, you know, you can always contact me or Josh afterwards and we can add that. But is there anything that pops to anybody's mind?
The only thing that I have is personally related to me because my second term ends on June the 30th. And I've already heard you say twice that you can continue to serve until the role is filled. As we get closer to that point, is that require a new application process from me, or do we just continue until at such time somebody decides their or puts their name in, or I'm sorry, puts in an application to fill my position?
Chrissy, can you speak to that, please?
Yep. Hi, this is Chrissy. I was just going to say, if you could just send me an email letting me know that you're willing to serve until replaced, that would be sufficient enough for me. And then once we do find a replacement, the board will be notified by the next follow-up meeting, and we'll make sure that you're aware, Scott, so you know whether to attend or not, and we can just go from there.
Leave you guys short without quorum. I know how important that is, so I don't mind continuing until the position can be filled.
Sure, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. That is immensely appreciated. And any of the rest of the members who are coming close to their term dates, if we can't fill the position and you are willing to serve until replaced, just let Chrissy know. We're incredibly grateful. So if there is nothing else, I'm going to check in with our leader today, Mr. Trampus. And if there is nothing else, I'm going to check in with him. If he doesn't have anything else, we can adjourn.
I don't think that there's anything else on the agenda. I think we're good to adjourn.
Fantastic. Well, Scott, if you would read us out.
Yes, the environmental health registration meeting is adjourned at 10:34 a.m. Thank you.